Hello, and welcome to another informative webinar from the Drought Venture Studio and our discussion today about Cohort 3 of the Drought Resilience Lab. Hi, I'm Nash. I am the Operations Lead for the Venture Studio. Today, we'll be providing an update on the Drought Venture Studio, why we exist, and our flagship program, the Drought Resilience Lab. Some housekeeping before we begin. We have someone on our team moderating the chat function. If you submit a question, we'll respond either on our website FAQs or to someone on our team at the end who'll be able to answer. One thing we've learned is that in somewhat classic fashion, Microsoft Teams can be a little janky when you want to use the chat function. We find it works best in the Teams app, and sometimes isn't as great when you're watching from the browser. So if you're having trouble with posting a question, try it from the Teams app. We are recording this webinar for distribution to anyone who couldn't join us today. Because of that, we've switched off your smiling faces. Please expect to receive an email from us in the coming days with the recording and information on next steps. As we're wrapping up today, if you feel like you still have questions for the team, we'll finish off with the best contact details for you to speak with someone here before submitting an application. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which this webinar is being broadcast. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples joining us today. We recognise that First Nations communities around the country have an enduring connection to the land, water and culture, and that the oral histories passed down about drought can deeply inform the way we all understand and more effectively manage landscapes across Australia. I'd also like to thank our partners at the Australian Federal Government, DAF. Beanstalk's Drought Venture Studio, with its focus on drought and climate resilience, is made possible by the support and funding we have received from the Future Drought Fund as part of their Drought Resilience Commercialisation Initiative. This collaboration has made this world-first Drought Venture Studio possible, and we are deeply grateful for this partnership and commitment to developing innovative solutions to tackle drought and ensure a resilient future for Australian agriculture. The agenda. So what can you expect from today's webinar? You can expect an overview of the Drought Venture Studio, why we exist, and our flagship program, the Drought Resilience Lab. We will then do a deep dive into the type of innovators and innovations the Drought Resilience Lab is looking for. To give you a better feel for that, we will also share some statistics from our first two cohorts, and this will be followed by a short Q&A session with two of our alumni innovators. Finally, before we go to any of your questions, we will do a walk through the Cohort 3 application process and key dates. Okay, the team. So you don't have to listen to me talk anymore. I'm going to give you an introduction to the Drought Venture Studio team. Justin McMurray, our lead venture architect at the studio. Justin, or Juz, as we love to call him, has been leading our team's work to select innovators and getting our first two cohorts humming along. We're also joined by the exceptional venture builder, Anna Tao. Anna's going to steer some of our discussions today and help us wrap up by summarising the key dates and application process. So that's enough from me. I'm going to hand over to Justin McMurray now. He'll go through an overview of the Drought Resilience Lab. Thanks, Juz.
Thanks so much, Nat, and welcome everybody here today and everyone who's going to be watching this in the future. Super excited to talk a little bit about Cohort 3 as we're lining up the third time that we've run this program. But let me start talking about a little bit of context about drought and why the Drought Resilience Lab exists. So drought has always been a huge challenge for farmers, and climate change only means that droughts will become more frequent, more intense, and last longer than we've previously known. Australia has a world-class agricultural sector, and we're the driest inhabited continent on the planet, and we invest plenty of knowledge and R&D on these types of initiatives, but the challenge is that only a small percentage of that IP ultimately becomes commercialised. Now, when it comes to research institutions and sort of deep R&D, this creates a little bit of a challenge. Many of you would be familiar with this type of graph, and this relates more to sort of the deep R&D as opposed to some of the industry startups, but the point's still pertinent. Early stage research and IP is often funded publicly. It comes out of academic innovators, and this public research funding lasts for a while, but it often stops when it hits around the proof of concept phase. Similarly, private funders and investors or impact investors or VCs will often only want to invest in a team later in the life cycle. So you can see straight away that this creates the so-called valley of death, where a lot of IP and innovation is being left on the shelf. About 2%, only 2% of patents are ultimately commercialized. So this is one area where the Drought Resilience Lab seeks to fill that gap. But it's not just with academic research-driven IP as well, as we'll talk about today. So let me just give you a little bit of context. So the Drought Venture Studio, generously funded by the Future Drought Fund and the Australian government, is the overall program and the team that we have spread across Australia of about a dozen people. They're a crack team of venture builders with a wide variety of expertise and background, and all very, very strong at hands-on venture building and coaching specific innovators. So we love going out and finding these innovators from across the country, helping them validate their commercial potential, connecting them with all sorts of people across the industry, and really essentially advancing their commercialization. So the way that the Drought Venture Studio does that is through two flagship programs. The first one that we're talking about today is the Drought Resilience Lab. You might have heard us refer to it with other words in the past, but the Drought Resilience Lab is the new name that we're giving to this 12-week cohort-based program. And we're up to cohort 3, as we'll talk about in a little bit more shortly. So that's the first flagship program. We've already taken a bunch of innovators through that program, and we're really looking forward to taking the third cohort through that. The other flagship program is our Ventures in Residence program, where we work more hands-on and in-depth with hand-selected ventures over about a 12-month period of time. At the moment, we don't have any guaranteed slots for ventures to graduate from one to the other, but we're working very, very hard on doing that, and we hope to have some good news and other activities to announce about that a little bit down the track. So they're the two flagship programs within the Drought Venture Studio. So if we look specifically at the Drought Resilience Lab, which is our 12-week hands-on program, what are the benefits, or what are the features, I should say, of how we run this cohort-based program? Because a lot of people will be familiar with some accelerators or similar type incubator models, but the Drought Resilience Lab is a little bit different in a few ways. Firstly, the most important thing is that we provide tailored one-on-one coaching from our venture builders. We don't just have abstract advisors or mentors sitting in the shadows. We actually have a team of 8 venture builders spread across the country who can work hands-on with the innovator and develop a really close relationship with them. That's a very, very active component of the program. We've recorded a whole bunch of expert masterclasses covering the full gamut of commercialization challenges, whether that's IP or equity or go-to-market or sales or marketing or product or legal or co-founder. All those types of components that we've produced and have masterclasses for are all available for the cohort to access. But maybe, with a little bit more fun, we also have weekly cohort meetups. And that's where the whole cohort comes together with the venture builders, a lot more of an interactive session. We'll often have an expert guest speaker, and we deal with a range of themes or talk through some of the things that are going on with our ventures. So those weekly cohort meetups are a really, really good activity. It wouldn't be a program like this without pitch practice, and we provide a lot of it. So really, it's an important part of the overall program, which I'll explain a little bit more in a second. But We really put a lot of emphasis on how you bring together your story and present your venture or innovation to the world. That does culminate in a very significant innovator showcase event, which I'll come back to shortly. The other thing we provide, apart from just that hands-on coaching and mentoring and meetups and pitch practice, we do provide some specialist services as well. So if you've got a challenge around understanding your market or your competitors or the size of the opportunity, maybe you have design or UX challenges, a lot of our startups have issues around their IP transfer status. We actually have dedicated resource to bring in experts to do discrete projects to answer those questions for you. So it's a very, very valuable service that more and more of our innovators have been getting a huge amount of benefit from. Lastly, and more loosely, we introduce you to a whole bunch of people. We have strategic partnerships with a range of investors, industry bodies such as RDCs, and associations, and we work very closely with the Drought and Innovation Hub spread across the country as well. So we have a whole bunch of connections into the wider agricultural ecosystem, and we're really delighted to be able to make those introductions to all of our innovators coming through the program. As I write there, the TLDR, bespoke hands-on venture coaching. None of this abstract stuff, and it doesn't feel like a class or a course to tick boxes on. This is hands-on, will get you moving. So just moving forward a slide, which I can finally do. So what's the actual outcome of doing the Drought Resilience Lab over these 12 weeks? Like, what are the benefits? Like, where can you expect to be? This is the biggest question that we get. So probably the number one benefit is that we see quite significant growth in the innovators' entrepreneurial capabilities. We actually do a comprehensive assessment of where they're up to upon entering the lab, midway through the program, and at the end of the program as well. And we assess that across a whole bunch of entrepreneurial capabilities. We're really trying to build out all your capabilities around how you bring your innovation, startup, venture, IP, whatever it is, closer to market. There are also some explicit artifacts that we help you produce. I've talked about the pitch deck before. We also help you work through a commercialization plan that's just a higher level outline of how you're going to tackle the market, solve your challenges, and align your resources over the next 12 to 18 months. This is not like a 50-page business case that never sees the light of day. This is a very actionable document to help getting you aligned and rolling forward to your goals. So that sort of venture playbook has a couple of those components, the pitching and the commercialization plan. Obviously, I talked about expanding networks and making introductions and the exposure to the industry as well. The ag tech industry is notoriously difficult to get your teeth into or get a foothold in, so that's what we really exist to help you do. But what does that all add up to after 12 weeks? We sort of have this expression called being market ready. And this doesn't necessarily mean that your venture is ready to launch and take on the world after 12 weeks. That's a little bit rapid. But really what we're expecting and hoping and working with you to achieve is to be ready to either engage customers or potential customers, or maybe you're ready to pitch to partners, or maybe you're ready to speak to investors about securing a seed round or something like that. But we really want to get you to an explicit point where you're ready to engage a key part of your market. Diving into a few extra details. So this Drought Resilience Lab, tell me more of the raw and gritty details. So as I said, it's cohort based. We'll be taking 24 innovators into cohort 3. Now, the good news, and hopefully I'm preempting some questions here, if you have a team, you might have a co-founder, you might have a collaborator, or a co-conspirator, or you might have 3 or 4 people on your team who are working on something together. They can be involved as well. So we invite sort of the primary innovator to come in and be the primary point of call and to coordinate everything. But we're very, very happy for other team members to join key activities and events, or join a pitch session, or join the one-on-ones that we have with the venture builders every week. So it's actually really, really well designed for a small team to participate. If you're on your own, no fear. We're also equipped to introduce you to potential co-founders or advisors or future colleagues. We worked very hard in the last 6 to 8 months to build up a pool of 25 potential co-founders, including a whole range of other subject matter experts. I think we screened over 300 or 400 people in the ag tech industry. So we do have people available who we can introduce you to if you are looking for a co-founder. In terms of commitment, how much work is involved? So we say it's about a day a week as a minimum. A lot of our innovators are already working on their venture part-time or full-time. So actually they might be doing 4 or 5 or 6 days a week. But in terms of the actual program commitment, we'd suggest that you leave about a day. We're very flexible on that though. We're 100% online, very remote friendly. We have people from all over the country. So if you need to sort of be flexible and spread your time around, we're very, very happy to accommodate that. Generally speaking, every Monday we'll have a cohort meetup around lunchtime. On a Tuesday or Wednesday, you'll then have a scheduled time with your venture builder to get into the weeds a little bit. And then normally we do a Friday pitch practice as well. And so each of those are about an hour, sometimes a little bit more. And then, of course, there's always a little bit of extra prep, or you might be doing some customer interviews, or you might need to work on your pitch deck, or you might need to fill out your commercialization plan. So generally, we say about a day a week. So that runs for 12 weeks. But at the end of that 12 weeks, we do select the top 8 ventures. And those top 8 ventures will get invited to pitch to the industry in our Innovator Showcase event. The lucky top 8 from our current cohort are heading off to Evoke Ag in a couple of days as part of our series of events up there, which is a great opportunity. And like that, we'll also be having an Innovator Showcase event. I think it's the equivalent of week 13 or 14. So there's a little bit of an extra commitment for the people who make it through to that top 8. And I should say that Innovator Showcase event is super fun. We'll probably post a link to a video showing some highlights of that event from a couple of months ago today. But think investors, agribusinesses, experts, industry bodies, drought hubs, like all the who's who of ag tech will be in the room, and you'll be pitching to them, we hope. In terms of the cost, there are none. No fees, no costs, and that's thanks to the generous support of the FDF. This is really crucial because it means that we don't take any equity, which means that you don't have to dilute any of your company or your future company that you're creating. Okay, it feels like I've spoken enough and gone through enough details at this level, but I'm very, very happy to hand across to my colleague Anna, who will talk a little bit about who and what we're looking for. Anna?
Thank you, Joss. So hi, everyone. So my name is Anna Tao. I'm one of the 8 venture builders Joss was referring to. So I'm calling from Brisbane, Mianjin today. So I'll talk to you a bit more about what we're looking for. So first of all, what do we mean by drought and climate resilience? Well, the definition is very broad. So we have consulted with the agriculture sectors and many of our partners just mentioned, and we have identified these key drought challenges that we think is relevant to deliver innovations to address these problems. So it includes areas such as water, which is commonly what people associate with drought. It could be water management and water technologies that will help to save waters or generating new source of waters. But it also could include new innovations and practice and methodologies that it will look at land management and areas like soil that is critical for the farm practice during droughts and being more resilient. It can also include areas such as supply chain. So you may work on the upstream of the agri-technologies, but you could be in between where you're connecting into the downstream of food tech. So looking at how you can address the volatility of supply chains is also an area we are interested. As you can see, the areas of challenges and problems that your innovation can be solved is very broad. So if you're in doubt, please reach out and we are very more than happy to discuss whether your innovation will fit into any of these categories. And then when we talk about innovators, you're going to hear a lot from our information around innovators and innovations. What do we mean by that? Well, based on our definition, innovators are typically inventors or developers of a novel technology. And who we are looking for is very broad. And you will be eligible innovator if you, for example, is a entrepreneurial researchers who is considering joining the journey of creating a new startup with a commercial team. You might be currently working in a research organization who has developed a technology that could be relevant to drought. And you might be working as a research scientist, a professor, a young PhD student who is in the early beginning of your research journey and looking at that real world applications. Or you could be a agtech founder who has been building agtech startups and already have an early stage prototype that is ready to validate with agriculture and farmers and want to understand what the market potential look like. You could also be an expert who has worked in the agribusiness or adjacent industries, and you're sitting on a piece of innovations that could be game-changing for agriculture sector, but you may not have the ability or capacity to commercialize it till now, and you really want to take it out of the corporate and want to jump into this innovation. If you are fitting into any of these type of innovators, we would love to hear from you. All we're looking for is an innovation and yourself who is based in Australia, have an innovation originated from Australia. If so, you'll be eligible. So shout out and reach out for a conversation. And one of the questions we typically get during the application process is people may not know whether they are too early or they're too late. So we want to give you a bit more clarity about what are some of the key factors we are looking for. So when we are looking for innovators and innovations who will fit into our drought resilience labs, we are in essence looking at these 5 key elements of factors. First is your team. You could be an individual innovator with an entrepreneurial spirit, and you are ready to build a team. So you don't necessarily to have a team ready. Of course, if you already have an amazing founding team and you're ready to jump, love to hear from you as well. Second, in the market and the customers, you may already have some early discussions, interactions, maybe even you have some expressive interest from farmers who is willing to do the trial with you. All of these will categorize as early interactions. You have some unique insight into a particular segment in ag that you think will have impact. Wonderful. That's a great stage to work with us. Third one is technologies. We were looking for innovations that you already have a prototype, or we call MVP. What's the difference is you may have a prototype that is in the lab stage that is not ready for commercial testing yet. That will be good enough for us to work with you. But if you have a product you are ready to launch and that's something you want to test in a certain market or certain regions, yes, absolutely I want to talk to you. And if you are a researcher with a piece of IP that is owned by a university, but you are in the stage of trying to commercialize it and discussion with your tech transfer office in universities, we'd love to help you through that journey. Number 4 is around challenges. So as you can tell, Drought Resilience Lab is really focused on how your innovation could be deliver impact into drought and climate. So if you have an innovation that has a potential, but you really haven't thought through what that means, we'd love to hear your initial thoughts, and then you can take on the validation of how that will impact droughts with our program. So you don't necessarily need to understand what's the drought impact before you apply. Last but not least is business models. Again, we're looking at very early business you're building. So as long as you have an initial perspective of how the business model might work and what the pricing model may suit with your customers, that's good enough. And also, if you have received initial early stage fundings to help you commercialize, that's a good signal, and we'd love to hear more. Anything to add from Jess?
Yeah, thanks, Anna. Look, this is sort of a really difficult answer to question to answer. Basically we're saying not too early, not too late. You need more than just a glimmer in your eye or something scratched on the back of a napkin. At the same time, if you're already going to market, you've already got institutional investment from a VC or something like that, you're probably too late. We'll come back to this a little bit more shortly, actually, to show you what sort of technology stage that you're likely at. But the good news is that most of you probably will fall into that messy middle of somewhere between being too early and too late. So I think that's all good. The last thing I'll just say is that these 5 venture factors, we actually build our entire program around. And also we have fully documented selection criteria for each of these factors for how we select those applicants. We actually have an independent selection committee made up of ag experts who will be the final ones who make the selections for the top 24 as well. Anna, back to you.
Thank you, Jess. So without further ado, we really want to shine a light about our past 2 cohorts that we've been working with in the past 9 months. So here are some statistics we would like to share. So over the past 9 months, we are very delighted to work with with a huge response from our first and second cohorts. So we have received over 350 registration of interest innovators who is looking for commercializing, and we've received over 160 applications who is ready to give a go. Out of that, we have select and assess of 48 innovators for our cohort 1 and cohort 2. So each of the cohort is made of 24 innovators. So where are they from? Well, we have seen a broad spectrum of innovators from every single state. We're very proud to able to work with innovators from every single state. As you can see, some of the states like Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria is definitely the leading force in space. So we really want to hear more from if you're from the smaller states and regional hubs, and you're thinking whether you are relevant. Love to hear from you a bit more. On top of that, we had approximately 21% made of women-led teams and innovators. This is above the industry average, and we're keen to see more, and we can do more in this space as well. And just to wrap up for this slide, we really designed the program for everyone. As just mentioned, it is online and this is remote friendly. So if you feel like this could be a great program benefit you, but you feel the arrangement or the location could be challenging, we really want to make sure the program can be suitable for your circumstances. And then who are these kind of innovators? Remember, I talked about these 3 types. So out of these 2 cohorts that we have about 42% of those are coming from entrepreneurial researchers. So these are researchers who came from research organizations, and we're very happy to see a whole range of researchers who've been actively participating in the journeys with us across Australia from different research organizations. And also we have seen overwhelming 42% from AgTech founders. These are founders who has been bootstrapping, many of them, and building a founding team already, and they're jumping into our studios to really helping them with that last mile of commercialization before they're ready to launch. But last but not least, we also have seen few we call industry disruptors. These could be farmers, people who work currently in the agribusiness, or innovators from adjacent industry who is not from agri-industry but want to deliver impact. We're also keen to hear more disruptors who have these hidden game challenging innovation in the space. Again, we're catered to all three groups. So if you feel like you may be in one or multiple categories, reach out and have a chat. And one tab we didn't mention is, we categorize innovations with, whole range of innovation solving all these challenges. So you could be a software-led startup who is, working on the softwares to digitize some of the farming systems, for example. We have also seen a significant percentage from hardware-led startup. Over 50 of them from our 2 cohort is hardware driven, but they may have a software component as well. And then we have also seen a range of technologies and innovations came from biologicals. And these could be biological-based solutions that address plant and animal health. So it's we recognize, the way to solve these challenges is broad. So if you have a mixture of solutions or even you have a platform of solutions, we would like to see how we can help you to commercialize. And then in terms of stages, I guess, generally we work with a range of innovation maturities. We mentioned that we'd love to hear from you if you already have an early prototype. So that could mean, you have a prototype in the lab like TRL4, which refer to technology readiness level for the people who is in the research background. But it can also mean, you already have a product ready for a trial in the farm. So that could refer to TRL7s. So as you can see in our past 2 cohort, generally the innovation sits in between TRL4 to 6, where you're kind of in the beginning, but ready to build or enhance your current solution for ready for trial in the coming 6 to 12 months. And we would love to share you a bit more about from our innovator directly. But I would like to share some wonderful quotes that we've heard from our innovators. So these are 2 quotes from one of our AgTech founders from Cohort 1, and another one from our a entrepreneur researcher from Cohort 2. So what really resonated with us, and we really appreciate that, is for the AgTech founder who's been building an innovation in the ecosystem for a while, the person still get really beneficial of the targeted programs that is really helping him to validate the potential of his innovation for drought resilience. So that lens of focus on that sector and particular problem of drought was extremely beneficial for him. And from the entrepreneur researchers, the one-on-one coachings and our pitch practice really kind of push the researcher mindset out of thinking out of the box and kind of a bit challenging out of the comfort zone. But what's beneficial is really change the perspective for the researcher who has been working in the industry for over 30 years, but able to benefit from that fresh perspective of building the ventures and deliver impact differently. So that fine line balance between pushing out of comfort zones and finding that industry side was extremely valued by the researcher in this particular case. So without further ado, I think the best way to hear what innovators think about is hear the information from themselves. So I'll pass it back to Jess.
Great, thanks, Anna. Yeah, look, I'm really excited because it's probably more important for you to hear from our innovators than from ourselves. And I'm very delighted to say we've got a couple of people on the call today. So we'll be spotlighting both Cecilia Potter, who's the CEO at VensoGrow, who came through Cohort 1, and Sam Orban, who's the co-founder and CTO at AgX. So I'm going to ask a couple of initial questions. Lovely to have you here, both Cecilia and Sam. Thank you for joining and giving up your time. Look, just to kick us off, Celia, maybe you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about VensoGrow.
Hi, I'm Cecilia and I'm the founder of VensoGrow, and we have a patented technology called BreezeCoat, which can boost farm yields by offering farmers an affordable and effective means of providing multi-layer crop protection, including especially gentle treatment of microbes. So it really can enable the use of microbes on field to both stimulate growth and also to protect crops from diseases. So that's what we've been commercialising, and it was actually invented by my late father, so I have a very personal reason to do it, as well as the fact I think it can have a tremendous impact on drought and ag.
That's awesome. Thanks, Cecilia. Yeah, in recent months, I've learned more about seed coating technologies than I ever thought possible. It's super interesting. Sam, I might just throw to you. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're working on at AgX?
Yeah, definitely. So hi, my name's Sam. A recent graduate from the University of Sydney. And at AgX, we're working on a virtual fencing company that uses a technology called EMS in replacement of electric shock. So lots of benefits for drought resilience, but can go into that further later on.
Cool, thanks, Sam. Actually, this is good because I'm going to ask some questions that I don't know the answer to. Sam, for starters, how did you even hear about Beanstalk in the first place? Because you were part of Cohort 2 that's just wrapping up.
Yeah, definitely. So I first heard about Beanstalk over at Evoke Ag in Perth last year. So I was in Perth and I was walking around and I saw the stand and went and talked to one of the lovely innovators. And getting the first-hand experience that they had convinced me basically to, or at least that was something that I was really interested in after the conference. And then scrolling Instagram, seeing an ad, I had to apply to try to get this same experience for sure.
Okay, thanks. Actually, and I don't know the answer that you're going to give here either, Cecilia. How did you hear about Beanstalk? Because you were part of Cohort 1 that kicked off mid last year.
Yeah, I was actually lucky to have not long before that met Hillary through another, Hillary was my venture builder, and I met her through another incubator. And so through that, I found out about Beanstalk and this program and thought it was really perfect. And I have to say it has been fabulous. So thanks, Hillary.
Thank you, Cecilia. Well, listen, and please feel free to be frank and candid. Cecilia, I guess I'd be interested to know what was your experience like, at least over those 12 weeks of the program, and what were you expecting? What did you get? Just tell us a little bit about your experience over that 12-week program.
Well, I'll tell you something I wasn't initially expecting, which was I suddenly had to be in Europe for some meetings and a conference. And so that meant that to attend, which I wanted to, I had to keep getting up at 4 a.m. twice a week. So while I was traveling. So I'm warning you, don't go off traveling anywhere around the world while you're doing the program, because you don't want to miss the sessions. But it was still very, very well worth it despite those early mornings. And for me, actually, I was extremely impressed with the quality of the team at Beanstalk and their connections, and also just their commercial nous and their positivity and involvement. I think a real passion for what they can achieve with this program. So that made it extra enjoyable and also obviously more valuable. And then for me, I think there's thousands of ways that Beanstalk could help me. But I think the biggest one, which was a real standout, was the fact that I was absolutely hopeless at the pitch. And I've always struggled to try to refine something quite complex and on a topic that nobody knows anything about, which is seed coating, and to get it as short as possible when I'm trying to talk about hardware and software and microbes and God knows what. So they were really brilliant at being very brutal and tough with feedback and getting it from many, many people, including other founders, which I really loved because, if I think they all have been through it and understand, and a lot of them were doing a great job on it. So for me, that was incredibly valuable because actually for the first time at the end of this incubator, it was the first time that I was actually enjoying giving the pitch because finally I thought it actually made some sort of sense. So that was incredibly valuable.
Oh, that's great, Cecilia. Yeah, I think we've certainly put a fair few number of hours into the
Yes.
VensoGrow pitch deck, and if anyone's going to be at Evoke Ag, make sure that you look out for Cecilia, because she will be pitching up there. So that's terrific. And was there a question there that we need to go to? No, we don't have a question. We'll wait a few minutes. Sam, you're sort of still in the thick of things. You've just got through the 12-week mark of Cohort 2. Yeah, tell us a bit about what you're expecting, maybe what surprised you, or just like what your experience was like.
Yeah, definitely. So didn't really know what to expect. We had gone through a university incubator before, but the incubator wasn't ag specific. It was very general. So coming into Beanstalk, really didn't have many expectations. I think what's really blown me away is kind of the importance of having something quite specific like Beanstalk in the ag space, with all the venture builders having history in ag or a really good understanding of agriculture has been really useful, because it means we don't have to go through the whole discussion about the agricultural industry and the priorities of farmers and so forth. So super helpful. I've been blown away by the amount of experience of the venture builders, I think. And that experience for us has been incredibly helpful. So myself and my co-founder, we're both quite young, and we don't have that experience that we've got a lot of grit, but we don't have that experience to kind of back it up. So getting that experience touch from Beanstalk has been a massive plus. And then just expanding on what Cecilia was saying about the pitch practice, for us that was super helpful. But also what was really helpful was the time that we spent with the venture builder, them, Brett in our instance, sending us questions and really probing into our assumptions and so forth. And we found that incredibly important when we're talking to investors and they're asking the same questions, and we've already heard those questions. So we've got a really good understanding of our own business and a really refined pitch just in those kind of meetings with investors and so forth. So.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sam. Look, I'm going to have to leave it there in terms of this Q&A, but really appreciate both your time, Cecilia and Sam. Actually, you'll both be up at Evoke Ag, so if anyone is going to be in that neighbourhood, you should try to track them down, and definitely check out both VensoGrow and AgX. They're doing super interesting stuff. We love what they're doing, so hopefully they're two good examples of what people can be looking at. Thanks again, Cecilia and Sam.
Okay, see you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I might hand across or back to Anna. Anna, do you want to run through the application process and key dates?
Sounds good. Thank you, Jess. So I hope by the end of this, you're already kind of like ready to apply. So how's the process going to work? Well, it's pretty simple and straight. So, here's our 3 steps to, navigate through our application process. First, go to our website. So our website is ventures.beanstalkagtech.com. When you get onto the website, you will see a very big orange button to click on for apply for Cohort 3. What it will take you is to a very simple contact form to register for application. So all you need to do is really put in your names and contact information for that form. After you complete that, you will get automated emails for you with the full application. So what we have found is the application is a 2-page application template, which will ask all aspects of yourself as well as your innovations. Typically, it will take about 2 to 3 hours maximum to prepare for it. What you will receive is a template of that application, and you can use that offline before you're submitting. So feel free to use the template and start drafting that in your own time. Once you are ready, you will go back to the link we sent to you in the emails and then fully submit your application. Once you've done that, you may expect to hear from us of a 10 to 20 minute chat where we might clarify some of the questions in your applications. And here are some of the key dates. So as you may or may not know, we already opened for Cohort 3 in end of January. So we opened this application for 6 weeks. And the final deadline for the last application you can submit is on the 9th of March 2025, 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time. We did notice there's few last-minute applications, so if you want to be the last times, double check on the times and dates. You don't want to miss out. We also have an early submission deadlines on the 2nd of March, which is Sunday, of 9 p.m. as well. What we find useful is, once you submit for early deadlines, we will assess them straight away, and we will reach out for clarification. This can be a great opportunity for you to look at some of the informations and do the full submissions in the meantime. So if you are not sure about your applications, go for the early deadlines, and that will be we find it very valuable for many of the innovators. And as I mentioned, once we close the application, we'll go through the assessment process as well as our steering committees. During the assessment process, we may reach out to you for 10 to 15 minutes for an online conversation. This is to clarify any aspect of your applications. We will be in the position to notify you for the successful applicants from April 11th. You will get the outcome from that week. So just to wrap up, to register for your applications, just remember to go to our website and then start your journey there. We will, and then you will send through the links for all the relevant information. If you don't remember anything, check out our website. You will have all the information there as well. I'll pass on back to Joss.
Okay, thanks so much, Anna. Yeah, you can head to our website at ventures.beanstalkagtech.com. If you've got any questions whatsoever or you have any issues, you can also feel free to email us at ventures@beanstalkagtech.com, which is on the screen at the moment. So make a note of that. We'll also be providing a link to this recording. Look, we're actually a fraction ahead of time, so we will have the chance to answer any questions that people might have here. So if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to jump into the chat now and submit anything. I think the other thing that I might suggest that we'll link to is a profile of the top 24 innovators that got into Cohort 2. We'll post a link into that chat because, you saw what Cecilia does with seed coding, you saw what Sam does with virtual fencing. We've got another 46 examples of really interesting things across hardware, software, biologicals, and that will really hopefully inspire you and show the breadth of the people that we have. Nat, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring attention to Angela's question, which is in the Q&A. Even though we've put all the questions in the chat, there is a Q&A as well. So if you, thanks Angela for submitting. Question being, how central is tech to the innovation requirement? Can it be a process/systems innovation that would impact drought resilience if scaled?
Oh, that is a good question. The short answer is yes. The medium answer, maybe. And the long answer is we'd love to hear about it. So certainly one of the themes that unifies a lot about innovators is that they do actually have some type of novel technology. It might be deep research, or it might be hardware componentry, or it might be biological process. And there's sort of some deep IP around that that's obviously very, very clearly the case. At the same time, if you've got a defensible, interesting, complex system or process or step change that can be employed or deployed across the sector that relates to drought resilience, we'd be very interested to hear about that, actually. I see there's also a question about the eligibility. I'm afraid to say that we can only accept applicants who are either Australian citizens or permanent residents, or who have a company incorporated in Australia that basically houses the tech or the team. That's purely because we're funded by the Australian government, so we do have those restrictions to potential applicants. Okay, last chance for questions, but of course, feel very, very free to get in touch with us via email at ventures@beanstalkagtech.com. And if there's nothing else, we might wrap up here. So I'd just like to say thank you so much for giving up some time on this lovely day. We hope to see your application for Cohort 3, if not soon, by the early bird deadline in early March. Thanks again, everybody, and have a terrific day. Bye.